Shalom again, everybody. Rabbi Ariel here from the KosherTorah School, found online at KosherTorah.com. I want to share a continuation of that which we began in our previous class, talking about prophecy, specifically out of the mythological realm and putting it back into the realistic realm, as understanding that as, if you will, psychic development, because that's really what it is, developing of the powers of mind and consciousness and like. And number one, we should know that's always been the foundation of all biblical teachings. Go back to the beginnings. Why did God give us a Torah, instruction, teaching? Not only to teach us how to establish and to maintain a moral and righteous society, civilization, but to expand us as individuals so that we are not blind to the higher realities. Now, let me discuss that about higher realities, because there's so much misunderstanding as to what and where they are. Recognize this. We're talking about higher realities. Religion, we always refer to that as heaven, but heaven is such a nebulous term that it's almost meaningless. Where is heaven? When you read in Talmudic literature about the seven heavens, well, where are they? What are they? Many of the speculators, my fellow rabbis will say, oh, they're spiritual places. But what the heck does that mean? What is spiritual in the first place? Okay. Reality is something far different and greater than what we understand. What we're looking at right now happening in the world with the conflicts in Europe, in the Middle East, possibly in Asia, everything is happening, and it's, be honest, like pieces on a chessboard. Things are happening because they are being influenced, possibly I should use the word manipulated, by higher forces. Now, I don't want you to get paranoid and conspiratorial about that, because these, in quote, higher forces are not mysterious or sublime. They're real. And as such, we interact with them on a normal, regular basis. The problem is that we just don't see it. And that, of course, is, well, what we're trying to address right here, right now. What we call the closest, highest dimension is actually, well, let me take a step back. We are part of it as much as we are a part of this world right here. So we are here and we are there simultaneously. And you've seen this echoed in literature and in stories around the world forever. And as such, what our conscious mind, the physical brain, it's hardwired to this physical world. So we're not paying attention to all that other stuff, which we access how? Inside ourselves. You see, I know a lot of people in the scientific community, they're trying to access the parallel dimensions, this other dimension, it's the fourth dimension, if you will. They want to build machinery, technology, and the like, and they think that they can open up the wormholes and the like to try to slide from one to the next. But you don't go into the other dimension physically, because it has its own physicality and laws of physics. You go into that dimension by the laws and rules that rule it. Or in other words, you're already there. So what you need to do is readjust consciousness from here, and quote, to that part of you which is there, and then you will experience that realm because you're already in it. And I know that might be something hard to understand, because we're all, again, thinking I got to travel, but it's not traveling, it's becoming conscious and aware. Think about it as, if you will, trying to go behind your back. I want to become aware of what's behind me. Now, I can build all kinds of machines that'll take me from here to there. But what kind of machine is going to take me from here to behind my back? The only way to get behind my back is to turn around. And I'm using these metaphors to help you understand the nature of what we're dealing with. Maimonides states that when you have those attributes, remember we said wisdom and strength and wealth, and we apply these things not so much physically, but psychologically. When you have a focused and strong character, and you start to shift into the other realms of consciousness, remember you're going into areas and realms within yourself, much of which has a lot of garbage in it. In the Kabbalah tradition, we call that garbage klipot. In the psychology tradition, is called the shadow. Doesn't matter what you want to call it. It just is. It's the subconscious area where all the trash goes into. And the problem is, unfortunately, we're all subject to that poisonous fruit from the tree of knowledge, good and evil, where in which we seek knowledge, but not all knowledge is right or correct knowledge. And especially if you look in religion, when people want to ascend in religion, look at all the different definitions in religion that we have. And look how many people are pointing the finger and saying, you're going to hell because you don't believe what's correct. All right. Of course, Christians say that about the Jews. Christians say that about Muslims. Muslims say that about Christians and Jews. And if you want to subdivide, go into Christianity. What does the evangelicals say about the Catholics and the Mormons? And what does this group say about that? And on it goes, right? You don't have the right doctrine, so therefore God hates you and you're going to hell forever. Yeah, that is one of those, in quote, klipot that I was telling you about, one of those shadow lies. And why is it a lie? Just remember this. If you want to talk about the afterlife and heaven and hell, if we believe in any of that, just remember, who is the judge of human souls? It's not you. It's certainly not me. It's not your doctrine, your theology, my theology. It's God. And God's going to judge as God deems to judge, regardless, however, what we understand our texts and what they say about how and what God's going to do. God is not limited to what our books say. When we're going to go into the higher dimensions, we need to understand that they are as inhabited as is ours. And any newbie who, in quote, gets off the bus into a parallel dimension and looks around and oohs and ahs because, wow, that's so exciting. They're the first ones who are going to be victimized by unscrupulous souls there, just like it would happen here. And that is why whenever we're practicing this type of material, like I said yesterday in previous class, you have to have that, what we call natural energetic calibration, which our religious literature calls holiness. And that is conducive by our behavior, our morals, how we treat our bodies and ourselves, etc. And if you can align that part of you externally, it'll reverberate to how you are internally. And then when you practice certain techniques and traditions, it'll enable you to get a clearer reception. So if you remember in a previous class yesterday, I talked about the importance of God's name, Yud Ke Vav Ke. Vav Ke, going backwards there, my background there. But the point is, that's the name that, quote, God revealed himself in the Torah and the scriptures by no other name. And that's the name that, again, we visualize on. But that is just the beginning. The more and more we try to cling to what is right, and the more we become sensitive to these alternate states that we will start to experience in dreams and daydreams and sensations and feelings. This is where, when we start to experience things, the most important attribute at this time to have is scrutiny. In other words, to test. You might have heard it said, test the spirits. Well, that's the most important thing. Don't just believe anyone or anything that comes your way and says, I am holy, listen to me. And then they start to give you a pile of goods. Just remember the old saying, the best of intentions, or what is it? The road to hell is paved with the best of intentions. So we always have to be careful. And as, again, we proceed, I'll talk more about that, the necessary precautions that we take to protect ourselves from evil as we proceed to do good. And I will tell you this, if you have anger and hatred in your heart towards this group or that group, pointing the finger, everybody's going to hell, that klipa and husk and shell will serve as a dark force that will blind your eyes and deceive your heart. You will never draw close to God while you're trying to claim that you are God, or trying to claim God's authority. All right, that's a big thou shalt not. So let's conclude on that note, and God be willing, we'll pick up in our next classes. Thanks all for listening. God's blessings. Again, pay attention to this stuff. This is real spiritual prepping. Talk to you all soon. Shalom.